The most instructive games of chess ever played. Game 21. Variety of themes. S. Tartakover versus R. Domenech. Sitges 1934. Colle system. This game flows along with such grace, charm, and wit, it is hard to realize that it offers more than mere entertainment. In the short space of 37 moves, it offers an insight into such useful ideas in chess strategy as the advantage of the two bishops, pressure on the black squares, majority of pawns on the queen side, sacrifice of a piece to create passed pawns, and, to crown it all, the triumphal march of the passed pawns. Pawn to queen 4, knight to king's bishop 3, knight to king's bishop 3, pawn to king 3, pawn to king 3, pawn to bishop 4, bishop to queen 3, knight to bishop 3, pawn to bishop 3, pawn to queen 4, queen's knight to queen 2. The Colle system of opening begins quietly enough, but it can easily turn into a whirlwind attack. Its tactical objective is an attack on black's castled position on the king side. Its strategical objective is to create a majority of pawns on the queen side, which can be decisive in the endgame. The characteristic formation is as follows: the queen pawn in the center, supported by the bishop pawn as an understudy, the king pawn at king 3, enabling the development of the king bishop, and later on the pawn advances to king 4 to let the queen bishop come into the game. The king knight develops at king's bishop 3, ready to seize the outpost king 5, or perhaps to attack by knight to knight 5. The queen knight develops at queen 2 to support the thrust pawn to king 4. The queen is best posted at king 2 to back up the king pawn and to permit the rook to get in touch with each other. The rooks are generally most useful at king 1 and queen 1 on files which are likely to be opened. Bishop to queen 3, castle, castle, queen to king 2, preparing to advance the king pawn, which will open up the game and release white's pieces. Pawn to king 4. This sort of move, according to the annotators, is a premature attempt to seize the initiative if black loses, but a well-timed counterattack if black wins. Pawn takes bishop pawn, bishop takes pawn, pawn to king 4, bishop to knight 5, pawn takes pawn, bishop takes knight. There is no reason for this exchange, which lets white have the two bishops, unless black thought that fewer pieces on the board would give him more drawing chances. Queen takes bishop, queen takes pawn, if knight takes pawn, knight to knight 3, bishop to king 2, rook to queen 1, and black has no defense against the threats of winning the knight by bishop to king 4, bishop to queen's bishop 4, or pawn to bishop 4. Knight to king 4. This is the position with black to play. Even at this early stage, black can easily go wrong. The immediate threat is knight takes knight check, discovering an attack on his queen. If he defends against this by queen rook to queen 1, hoping to lure white into knight takes knight check, pawn takes knight, queen takes pawn, queen takes bishop, bishop to rook 6, when he averts the threat of mate by queen to knight 3. If he defends against this by queen's rook to queen 1, he gets a painful lesson when the continuation knight takes knight check, pawn takes knight, queen to knight 4 check, king to rook 1, bishop to king 4, queen to queen 2, bishop to bishop 5, queen to queen 4, queen to rook 5 leaves him helpless. Knight takes knight, bishop takes knight, queen to queen 2, rook to queen 1, queen to bishop 2, pawn to queen's knight 4, bishop to knight 3. Safer than bishop to king 2 when this might occur. Queen to rook 3, pawn to king rook 3. If pawn to knight 3, rook to queen 7, queen to bishop 1, bishop takes knight, queen takes bishop, rook takes bishop, and white wins a piece. Bishop takes pawn, pawn takes bishop, queen to bishop 5, king to knight 2, or king's rook to queen 1, queen to rook 7 check, king to bishop 1, queen to rook 8 mate, queen to rook 7 check, king to bishop 3, queen takes rook pawn mate, pawn to queen rook 4, pawn to queen rook 3, pawn to rook 5, bishop to rook 2, queen to queen 3, pawn to king's knight 3. But not pawn to rook 3, bishop takes pawn, pawn takes bishop, rook to queen 7, queen to bishop 1, queen to bishop 5, and white mates quickly. Bishop to rook 6, king's rook to queen 1, queen to bishop 3, with an eye to queen bishop 6, control of the black squares, and mate at knight 7. Rook takes rook check, rook takes rook, rook to queen 1, bishop to queen 5, queen to queen 2, pawn to rook 4, exclamation point. An advance which provides the king with a flight square in case of need. It also incorporates 2 threats, bishop to knight 5, winning the exchange, and pawn to rook 5, breaking up black's pawns on the king's side. Pawn to king 5, queen to bishop 4, bishop to knight 1. The last 2 moves have enabled black to get his bishop back into active play. This is how things stand. The position is tricky. White must not be lured into playing bishop takes pawn check, hoping for queen takes bishop, rook takes rook, knight takes rook, queen takes bishop, and he wins the pinned knight. The reply to bishop takes pawn check would be king to rook 1, after which rook takes rook check, queen takes rook, queen to queen 2, queen to king's rook pawn still leaves black with a slight advantage. Queen to knight 5, exclamation point. This forces an exchange of queens, after which the rash king pawn will fall. Queen takes queen, bishop takes queen, rook to queen 2, rook to queen 2, bishop to king 4, bishop takes king pawn, rook takes rook, bishop takes rook. White has the 2 bishops, 3 pawns to 2 on the queen side, and is a pawn ahead. What more could mortal crave? Knight to queen 1, pawn to queen's bishop 4, the customary procedure. Pawns are to be exchanged by pawn to knight 5. Let's say he does that. Pawn to knight 5, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, and later pawn to rook 6, pawn takes pawn, leaving white's passed pawn only 2 steps away from the coronation. king to bishop 1, pawn to knight 5, king to king 1. The king rushes over to head off the pawns, but Tartakover's next move cuts the journey short. Bishop takes queen, knight, pawn, exclamation point. A bolt from the blue, as the fellows used to say. Pawn takes pawn. Knight takes bishop, pawn takes pawn, bishop to knight 1, pawn takes knight, king, to queen 2, pawn to rook 6, king to bishop 3, bishop to king 3 threatens pawn to rook 7, bishop to king 4, bishop rook 7 and wins. After bishop takes queen, knight, pawn. If knight takes bishop, pawn takes pawn. Oh, I already just did that. Pawn to rook 6 threatens to win it once by pawn to rook 7. Bishop to knight 1, or bishop to queen 4, bishop to king 3, knight takes bishop, bishop takes bishop, king to queen 2, pawn to rook 7, and white wins. Pawn takes pawn, knight takes bishop, pawn to knight 6. Exclamation point. Very pretty. The passed pawns are now all powerful. King to queen 2, pawn to rook 7, and black resigns.